As we mentioned, we have a special guest on today's show. Matt Mullenweg is the founding developer of WordPress, a hugely successful blogging platform, and is also chief barbecue taste tester of San Francisco-based startup Automatic. I don't really know what that means, but it sounds delicious. Thanks for being here, Matt.
It's my pleasure.
So what does that mean exactly?
Chief barbecue taste tester means I don't like titles and I love barbecue because I'm from Texas. So
excellent.
Coming to San Francisco, I miss that more than anything.
I do love getting the barbecue in Austin for South by Southwest.
It's
always my favorite. Salt Lick?
Yeah.
Is that a good one?
It's pretty good.
Is that up to your standards?
Check out Rudy's next time you're there.
I think I've been there.
Okay, good.
Well, anyways, we're digressing majorly. Give us a little background of WordPress, how you started it, where it all came from, the whole backstory.
Sure. So WordPress, actually, we just celebrated our 6th birthday.
Oh, congratulations.
Last Wednesday. And so about 6 years ago, I was 19 years old and just starting college in Houston, Texas. But I was a terrible student, which means I spent all my time on the computer, and one of these things was blogging. I was pretty frustrated with the blogging software at the time. I felt like it was too difficult to use, not really flexible enough. So with a guy in England named Mike Little, who I'd never met before, started working on this open source project called WordPress.
Fantastic, and you're also a CNET alum, as I am.
As you are, yes.
Did we cross paths or like two ships in the night?
We did. I was a fan of you while you were there.
No way.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I'm going to blush. So we asked our Twitter audience to send in a few questions, so we should probably start with those. The first one is from Twitter user Formula One Blog, and it's pretty appropriate considering all the news from WWDC this week. He wants to know, when will WordPress improve the iPhone app? Our blog is based on WordPress, and a more robust iPhone app would be terrific.
I totally agree. I think the iPhone app that we have right now is pretty lame, actually. I think we followed the Apple guidelines a little bit too closely. So we're blogging. It's actually more difficult to publish a blog on the iPhone app than it is to publish it just on the web. Instead of a publish button, you have to like go into the status and change it. And it's way too difficult. Anyway, we were rewriting it from scratch in anticipation, I guess now, of the iPhone 3.0 version. And it has some new things that take advantage of the cool stuff there.
Any new things in particular you can talk about today, or is it super secret?
Super secret, like everything around Apple.
All right, our next question is really relevant to my personal blogging habits. Dean Wagman says, the introduction of microblogging sites like Twitter have affected traditional blogging. What are your plans to combat this? I don't really know what you would need to combat it with, but any ideas about microblogging and how it's affected traditional blogging?
Well, we definitely don't want to combat anything. We want to be friendly with everything.
Integrate?
Integrate. We're open source. It's all about open data, bringing things in, putting things out. Microblogging, I think, has been sort of a wonderful trend. I see a lot of people also using it, though, as a sort of distribution mechanism for their blog. So let's say, just by chance, you have a thought longer than 140 characters, which I hope most of us do. You can put that on your blog and then pimp it on Twitter and Facebook and everything like that and drive traffic back to a place that you control the domain, the design, and maybe even have ads on it, things like that. I
have had a bit of a problem with saying things on Twitter that normally would have been a blog post, but just condensing them so much that, into that 140 characters, but then I really could have expanded a lot more on my blog. But
that's probably a good thing.
Is it laziness or is it just convenience?
I think a lot of it's convenience, and I don't think it's a bad thing either. I mean, people might have stretched things out to be blog entries that didn't really need to be before.
True.
And so now, like, I Twitter lots of things that if I blogged, my audience would probably get very, very bored very quickly.
It's all about keeping things compact and easily digestible, I guess.
I love that. I love brevity.
And then Brownie Bag wants to know, will there be ever WYSIWYG capabilities for WordPress? Back in the day, just drag and drop, put things in a blog post, or more so than just the extended editor in WordPress?
Not sure what he means. We do have WYSIWYG, of course, for post editing. He might be referring to sort of template editing. That's been a big focus, actually, of the 2.8 release, trying to make themes and templates a lot easier to work with. For example, now when you're editing a theme, it syntax highlights all the code, so if you make a mistake, it sort of stops you before you save it and crash your blog.
Oh, cool.
And it also does things like, for every function on the page, it gives you inline documentation. Those are steps along the way. Like, it'd be awesome if someday down the road, you wouldn't need to do anything, right? Everything was just a box and a checkbox and no code at all. But I think we're still a little ways away from that. WordPress is definitely today more for more serious or powerful bloggers.
More serious or powerful bloggers?
Wait, more powerful for serious bloggers is I think what I meant to say. Although powerful bloggers
that makes a little more sense.
are definitely welcome.
I don't really consider myself a powerful blogger. I'm kind of an easygoing blogger, but I do use WordPress at home, so I think it's easy enough for people to use every day, but still having that functionality for power users.
Exactly.
You should have me write your PR.
Hey,
See, I'm coming out with all these great ideas today. For something a little more on the political side of things, sure. Kevin Ashby, Twitter user, wanted to know if there was going to be a chance that China was going to unblock some of these WordPress blogs. Do you know anything about that?
That's a good question. Well, the situation in China is that we're not really officially blocked. But effectively, if you're in China, you can't get to any WordPress.com blogs 95% of the time. So without us changing something seriously about what type of content we allowed on the domain or those types of policies, probably not going to become more unblocked than we are currently, unless there's some sort of political changes in China. So for example, around the Olympics, WordPress.com was pretty much accessible the whole time, because they opened up sort of the Great Firewall a little bit more, where there were lots of visitors.
Have you had any kind of dialogue with the Chinese authorities about it, or is it just what they say goes?
I think what they say kind of goes, at least in China.
All right, and next one comes from Gary Vinson, and he asks, what are your favorite WordPress plugins, your personal favorites?
That's a good question. So,
other than Akismet?
Other than the ones I wrote, I think one of my favorites I just activated on my blog is called Yet Another Related Post Plugin, YARP. It makes me feel like a pirate, YARP. But what it does is, under the post, it sort of shows things that might be related. And I've been blogging 7 or 8 years now, so I've got a lot of archives. And it actually surprises me sometimes when I blog about something and then I visit the permalink to see I've written about it before or there's something related. And it also increases the traffic on your blog a lot, because when people come in just to one entry, they'll see this other stuff that's around.
I've been thinking of adding a plugin for that recently, so that was a good suggestion.
There you go.
I'll have to look into that one. I love the Hello Dolly one too. I know it's kind of standard. It doesn't really count as a plugin, but it brings me great joy.
That was the first ever plugin in the world.
The first ever plugin in the world was a Hello Dolly plugin. TJ Mapes wants to know, when is WordPress 2.8 coming out?
Wednesday, actually.
Wednesday?
So
wait, so we're recording this earlier in the week, and it comes out on Thursday. So is it this coming Wednesday?
So do you want me to say it came out yesterday?
It came out yesterday.
We're in the future.
We're in the future. So TJ, hopefully you're well pleased with WordPress 2.8. And finally, Derek Spinell asks, what's in the future for WordPress? What are you guys looking forward to? What are you planning? Anything you can tell us would be wonderful.
So WordPress has always been super user-driven. So really with every release, we're about to go through this once 2.8 comes out, is we sort of sit down and we go through what is the community asking for the most. We have sort of an open IRC meeting and go through the ideas forum. We look at what plugins are the most popular, go through what I've been learning when I talk to people at WordCamps around the world, and sort of decide based on that. So it's always been 100% user-driven. The things that users are asking for the most right now is improved media capability. So right now, if you're doing video, audio, and even to some extent images, the experience is clunky. And I don't think this is just WordPress. The experience is generally clunky across most CMSs. And I hope that now that we have a lot more broader, we've actually started a new thing where we're bringing usability professionals from around the world, are sort of open sourcing their talents and contributing to WordPress. Now that we have this broader base to do more testing, I hope we'll get a really smooth experience in there.
Were there any plugins that you purposely integrated into previous versions of WordPress, so you saw how popular they were and decided to actually build it into the platform?
Absolutely. Almost every feature that WordPress adds has been previously done as a plugin. Even all the way back down, we added automatic upgrade in 2.7, which you can one-click upgrade.
Huge help, huge help.
People love that. That was a plugin first. Same thing with the galleries, same thing with almost anything you can point to, WYSIWYG.
So you mentioned WordCamp. Can you tell us a little bit more about WordCamp and what's that all about?
Sure. So the first WordCamp was in 2006. We did here in San Francisco, very much in Barcamp style. Like we thought about it 2 weeks before, and 2 weeks later we had an event with about 200, 300 people. It's grown to be all over the world. So communities, WordPress users all over the world self-organize WordCamps. 2 days ago I was in Chicago at WordCamp. This weekend I'll be in Raleigh?
Raleigh, yeah.
Wow, I'm
You'll
so
be there.
not
You'll
a
learn how to
Yankee.
say it when you're there.
And the week after that is Brazil, and the week after that is Montreal. I mean, there's one almost every single weekend now, all around the world. And the cool thing is that rather than having to spend a ton of money to go to a conference halfway around the world, there'll be one down your street, and they typically cost like 20, 25 bucks. We just did the one in San Francisco. We had over 700 people there, and I think it was a great deal, because for 25 bucks you got a barbecue lunch, of course, a full day of speakers, including some folks like John Lindley, the CEO of Mozilla, who was speaking at the $6,000 All Things D conference a couple days before, a t-shirt, and an open bar that night.
Fabulous. Now, do you end up at a lot of them, or do you just try to get the ones that are local to you?
Good question. I would love to go to every single one.
Every single one. That'd
but
be
if
pretty
I did
amazing.
that, I would have no time to
work
write
on
WordPress.
WordPress.
So people would just stop going to them
irony.
eventually. So I'm now making it to around half of them. And maybe that'll go down to the third in the future.
They're really fun. So where can people find your work on the web?
Sure. So my website is ma.tt. That's Trinidad and Tobago. My Twitter is Photomat, and my email is matt@mullenweg.com.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for being here today.
It's my pleasure.